I've got a ton of topics I wanted to kind of discuss with you. He wants to know an update on how you managed and are managing your 700 strike January 15th call option trade. What are your current Tesla option positions?
The big trade, I closed out half of it in December. It was around $42 or something like that, a contract when I closed out of it, and Tesla was trading around 650 at the time. I closed out Friday morning, felt like cutting half my position for a 6x gain would guarantee me, even if the other half, went worthless, it would still be a nice return either way. So I kept the other half position on, thinking I'm going to hold it and ride it for a lot longer now. So this other half of the position still on. Picked that January 15th because I felt after the S&P inclusion in the following weeks, there'd be benchmark managers, laggards, catching up, getting some FOMO to get on board with Tesla.
The general idea or sentiment from most people was that on the S&P 500 inclusion date that it could spike, but then lots of people were expecting a pullback. Was it the whole benchmarked kind of funds would continue to buy? Was that the main thesis of why you kind of kept the trade on?
Yeah, I mean, it's a humongous pool of money. And then there's all these closet indexers out there, which are like, money managers or asset managers that technically are not benchmarked, but they're really just copying the S&P 500 for the most part and trying to mimic the performance, and they're charging, much higher fees. These benchmark funds, the portfolio managers, this is their livelihood. There's a lot of pressure on them. Even if they personally disagree and think it's overvalued, they really just have to kind of get on board pretty soon.
The past year at Tesla, I mean, we're talking about over 10x. I mean, that doesn't happen very often, especially with a big cap company. Like, are you remaining bullish? Like, what are your thoughts going into 2021?
I think you and I both are on a similar page where we don't think it's going to 10x again. Could it 2x? Possibly. 3x? That's a stretch. I think it could certainly get cut in half at any time, especially if the macro market, is correcting.
What are your info sources?
And I think going right to the source of the decision maker of the company is the best. I think direct interviews is important, but you don't believe everyone. You always try to be skeptical of what everyone says.
What type of services do you use?
Whether it's ARK Investment or the Motley Fool founders, I think the thing that makes them special is they kind of do their own research and pick stocks independently. They want companies that are founder-led, I think, and have incredible prospective futures ahead of them.
What's going on, you think, with inflation?
I mean, I think the macro economy is just overly complex. There's just too many variables to really know what's going on. It just seems like things are always inflating to some degree. You just don't know if it's going to be at 2% a year or 5% or 10%.
Would you recommend younger people 18 to 19 years old with a reasonable amount of capital to invest in the stock market, or should they invest in themselves first? Is it worth to go to university anymore?
One piece of advice is to open, a Robinhood account and start, at night making yourself curious and using it and buying some stock. Experiment. That's how you learn, is experience. So the earlier you can start with some kind of investing, the better. Always invest in yourself. I would say university, I think it's overrated by a lot now, but for, networking, and if you want to just like have a little bit of a moratorium of living life with, networking and experiencing some kind of like social life with peers, if you can afford it, it's not a bad idea. That's another thing I say to an 18-year-old Emmet is like, get your priorities straight.